Hey, you guys, welcome to the Fourth State Podcast. Today, we're talking about something so interesting, which is talking about how inner alignment always finds you. And no matter if you're building a path built on status, on getting the validation or the monetary status from growing in perfectionism, there's always going to be something nagging you to be in total alignment. And we really see that today in this episode with Hannah Schtein, who is a mindset and manifestation coach. She went from building her career in marketing and law, and now she is in coaching naturally because of the audience that she's built. And so let me introduce you to Hannah Schtein without further ado. Oh, so excited to have you. This is Hannah
Huh?
Schtein. She is a mindset and manifestation coach, mentor, and she has been on my mind to have on this podcast because I've just been seeing the way that she's been moving in the world. And the way that she speaks is very eloquent. She can explain very deep topics in a way that is so easy to understand. And you can feel that this is something that she genuinely wants to talk about. And it showcases in her Instagram, it showcases in her life. And so I really wanted to have her on and just ask to tell us some of your secrets. Tell us how you started your mindset and manifestation journey. Tell us about how you started aligning your life and manifesting everything. Give us a little bit of an introduction. Give us the quick and dirty, and then we'll get into some more storytelling in the later parts of this.
Perfect. Thank you for your kind words. I'm so excited to be here. In terms of how I started, I feel like it's been such a long journey with so many layers. But I'll do the quick
Yeah.
version. I think I had my first, I've always loved spirituality, but I had my first, awakening, if you want to call it that, when I was in law school and I decided basically I can't do this with my life. And we can get into that more later if you want. But that's when I started kind of going deep on um like my spiritual journey and just really like tuning into my inner voice. So that was sort of part one. Then part two was when I started my business, which wasn't immediately, I started in marketing and copywriting, and I was doing that for years. But the whole journey of entrepreneurship catapulted me into a whole new level of just like facing my shadows and understanding just how deep the whole, your external world reflects your internal reality thing is. So, yeah, I guess the entrepreneurship journey really like ramped it up. And then I got stuck again because I was running my business, but it wasn't around what I really wanted to talk about, which was spirituality and personal growth and like psychology. But instead, I kept telling myself, no, you don't know about enough about that. No, people aren't going to like it. Other people are better at it than, all of that kind of stuff. And finally, it was like literally, I could feel it like draining my soul and dimming my light because I was feeling like I have these things to share that I know can help other people and that are my passion. I've always loved this stuff. And I'm not sharing them. And I actually started the Instagram not even intending initially to monetize it. I was just like, you know what? I don't even care if I get followers, but I have to get my spark back and start sharing this. And then it turned into what it is now.
I'm
But yeah.
obsessed. And I love how you said in the beginning you were really finding your inner voice, and that seems to have been kind of the whole journey of what you're describing. In the beginning, it's a journey to find your inner voice from a spiritual perspective, but then it translates as you grow in your entrepreneurship and as you face all of these challenges and actually can claim this is what I'm here to talk about. So I find it really interesting, your whole journey of starting in marketing and just kind of like getting interested in spirituality and getting interested in Kabbalah and interested in manifestation. Talk to me about what that was like when you really decided to go for you understand these things and you're here to talk about these things. not just enjoy them and consume them. Like, where were you? Was there a specific moment? What did you really just start this Instagram and it started growing and that's when you started claiming it more and more? Or was there a specific moment where you were like, okay, it's time to go in. It's time to go fully into this. It's time to fully claim this. Talk to us about that specific journey.
I think I'm trying to like pinpoint a moment when I really decided to go for it. I did so initially I did decide like, okay, I just want to get it out there. And obviously I've been in the online business space, so it wasn't like I wasn't thinking about coaching or monetization and stuff at all. But I really said to myself, that can't be my priority, and neither can like building a following. It just needs to be from the perspective of what are things that you wish people had told you that you know will help people that you are just dying to share from that perspective. So, and that really helped me because it just helped me detach from the outcome and the timeline and the pressure to get followers, make money, all of that stuff, which was very much present when I first started um like my entrepreneurship journey. And it held me back so much more than anything else. So when I removed that, it made it so much more easy and fun to share the content. And then the growth honestly surprised me, not fully surprised me. Obviously, like I understand social media strategy and I wasn't just like, I'm gonna post whatever. Of course, I had that in mind. Um, but I didn't expect it necessarily to resonate with as many people as it did. And that really made me happy, even though that wasn't my initial intent. And then people were asking me questions and actually like asking for coaching before I offered it, because also initially I wasn't even going to offer any sort of coaching. I was going to like sell some ebooks, which I would do as well. But then people were like, do you offer sessions? And I was like, you know what? Like, okay, if if they're asking.
That's honestly the
Yeah.
best kind of growth, the type that just
Yeah.
kind of like falls in your lap. When you're scaling a company in general, it's like there's almost like you shouldn't plan to scale. You should scale once you have that amount of people in your vicinity and you're not, it's like the same thing that you're naturally doing. You've built this natural audience. And by the way, you guys listening, the thing that she's talking about, she grew her Instagram and I was talking to her before we pressed record. Something that I find so fascinating is how many people are in her comments and just genuinely resonating with the things that she says. Because, like I said in the beginning, she has such an eloquent way to describe these things, these manifestation, these spirituality, these mindset things that we're all going to, because she's dying to share them. She has such a passion in her heart. And I think that these people who are interacting with her can really feel that genuine nature. So, talk to us about how you got to that point where you could share these things authentically, because that's what I mean, am I reading that right? Like, do you think that resonance is so strong there because it's authentic? And how did you get to that authentic spot?
Yeah, I love this question. Yes, I do think that's a huge part of it. I am genuinely passionate about these things. I want to figure them out for myself. And for that reason, I have also pulled apart some of these concepts and asked questions and struggled with them myself, if that makes sense. And so, and I've looked at them from multiple perspectives because I love the super spiritual, metaphysical stuff. And I also love the more like, okay, but explain it to me like practically and like give me the psychology. So, I think it helps me to look at it from multiple angles. But the fact that I even want to look at it from multiple angles and I want to make it clear to people is because I love it. Because when I think again about the previous iteration of my business and also just other stuff I've done, because I've had a million career pivots and stuff, I don't always want to do that. When my business was around marketing, I was so not excited to create content. I would make it, but I was like, I am
Bored.
so bored by talking about copywriting and marketing strategy and like I see other people who speak on those things and they're so passionate and it comes through. That's why I wanted to speak on these things, is because I knew that I wanted to pull these concepts apart and make them clear and get into them because I have that passion for them that I couldn't fake with the other stuff that I did.
That's genuinely so cool and incredible.
Yeah.
And as you were saying that, I was like, okay, because one of the beliefs that I have and that we were kind of talking about in the beginning is once your inner alignment is there, once this domino effect of your inner voice, of your spirituality is really in place, the things like marketing become so much easier. Maybe could you talk about that experience? Like, if you're working on marketing alone, can you really grow a following? Or do you need your
Mhm.
inner voice? Do you really need that spiritual alignment? And have you seen specific clients or people that you've worked with that have shown this? Or maybe you've experienced it yourself?
I have definitely, okay, so to answer the first question, I do think you can grow without inner alignment, but I think that it is much harder. And I think that if you're doing that, you likely will eventually burn out, depending on what your capacity is for being out of alignment. With myself, I definitely felt it. I have a very low capacity for being out of alignment, and I always have, and it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But I just every time like I would other iterations of my business and even before I was in entrepreneurship like in my career, and so I finally like saw that because I kept seeing it but like denying it, and I was like the strategy I was like this, like I'm gonna figure out whatever the thing to do to make this amount of money, to like this amount of followers, all that stuff. And finally, after literally hitting my head against a wall many times, even though this was all happening while I understood and believed that inner alignment is important, but I still was not living that, you know what I mean? And finally, I think I just got it. And that's when I was like, again, the thing I do in my business has to be super aligned, and I have to not put this pressure on it. And even if I don't know the next step, whatever, I have to lead with the alignment rather than trying to figure it out. And it's so interesting because that was exactly what happened like the other time that I had a huge change, which is when I had this awakening in law school where I have no idea what's next for me. I don't have a plan for my future career, but I just know that my inner voice says no. And all I know is the next step, and I have to trust that. And so that's exactly what I did here. But it's interesting that even though I had learned that lesson before, clearly I had trouble integrating it.
This is so interesting. So I just want to kind of mirror back some of the things that you said is it took you so long to really claim that this is what you're here to do. And once you did claim that and found your passion and found what you naturally wanted to speak about, many manifestations came through, not just the growth, but the people who resonate, the people who are asking to be clients before you even put an offering out. That is huge. Huge. So,
Thank you.
yeah, you should be really proud of yourself. And and I want to hear about what advice you can give to someone who maybe was in the position that you were, who is in this spot where they want to grow and not just on social media, but they want to manifest all the things. They want to manifest this big dream life. They want to build a company. They want to have the love. They want to have the just overall alignment. And they know exactly what to do. That was something that I thought you said that I thought was so interesting. You said that you already knew that inner alignment was important, but you were like banging yourself against the wall, not being able to
Yeah.
actually claim it. So, what would you say, given all your wisdom, given all the things that you've learned, and maybe even throw in some of the concepts and teachings that you share, how would you speak to someone and helping them manifest everything that they desire? And I know this is a big question, but just answer it as
Yes,
simply as
so
you
good.
want.
Um, yes, it's like so simple but so complex, as you know. So I would tell them, so okay, the core concept is you have to trust what makes you feel alive and follow that, which is so basic, but that's so hard for most people to do. And so the reason people aren't doing that usually is because we have all of these limiting beliefs. And so, first of all, I would tell people to like take stock of like where they're putting their energy so that they can even tune into what makes them feel alive. Because lots of people can't, they're like, I don't know what I really want or what I meant to do because they're so programmed by their external circumstances and expectations and all these things. So, first, I would cultivate awareness of your thoughts, your energy, your focus so that you can even separate, you can find yourself from and recognize what is you and what is, all of these inputs that you are thinking are you, like expectations and stuff you heard on TV and what your friends are saying, all of these things. Then once you can tune into what makes you feel alive, you have to just trust and follow that. And again, people get stuck here because there's all of these things that make them think, I can't do that. So for that, again, it's such a big journey, but I would say like ignore your current reality, which sounds kind of crazy. I just talked about this in a reel, but I think people get stuck because they're looking at where they are now and they're making it, they're saying, okay, I don't have the amount of money I want, or I don't have the whatever soulmate relationship, whatever it is for them. And then they're saying, okay, this is my life. And so then that is reinforcing the loop and recreating it in the future. Whereas you can reclaim your role as the creator of your life, which I literally think we all have a piece of the divine, a piece of the creator within us by saying, no, I get to decide right now what is possible for me. And showing up as, your future self, your highest self, whatever you want to call it, right now, that will change your future. So you have to allow yourself to be delusional, but it's not really delusional. It's just stop identifying with your current circumstances, tune into what is really alive for you, and be the version of you that has those things. So I hope that didn't get too like esoteric, but
No,
you know
I
the
mean, yeah,
vibes.
we can get esoteric if you want. You know me. But
Always,
oh
yeah,
my
I
gosh,
do.
I love it. So awareness, then trust, and really reclaiming that you're the creator.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, that's like a very simple thing of what you're saying. And you said there's parts of all of this. Like sometimes you're stuck at the point where you don't know what drives you. You don't know what you want to do. And then sometimes you're just stuck in this point where you have to double down on your trust after maybe you've received a hate comment or a
Yeah.
thing that knocked you out of alignment and just keep continuously being in that trust. So, are there any specific practices, specific truths that maybe you really connect with? Like, are you a big meditator? Like, is that how you find your awareness? Or is it just like as you're getting your coffee or like thinking about your thoughts and just being more introspective? Um, what practices, what tools, what concepts are some of your favorites? Can you give us some cheat
Yeah.
codes?
Yes, I love it. So, okay, to be honest, like meditation is the best way to do this. I have to be so honest that I actually fell out of my practice because I was, well, I already know how to be aware of my thoughts, like literally. And so I stopped meditating and so I do a lot of journaling to get in touch with my higher self. And I don't think you have to meditate. I do think other things work. But if you're into the science of it all, meditation, I do think is the most effective way to become the observer of your thoughts and, your state of being rather than going into it. So I just started reincorporating it. So definitely meditation and journaling and just being with, I guess, even when I stopped meditating, I would take time to just like be with my highest self and feel into that version of me and be like, okay, well, I always ask myself, like, especially if there's a triggering situation or if I'm stuck on a decision, I ask myself, like, okay, how does the version of me that already has, everything I desire, like, how, or just the person I want to be, how does she handle this situation? So I
So
guess meditation.
every high pressure situation, you're taking an introspective thought. You're taking awareness beyond just the meditation and journaling. It's like when you do have to make a decision, when you do have to be forward, that awareness comes from, okay, well, what does this mean? And taking a second and saying, okay, connecting with this higher version of yourself. Okay, that's a great cheat code.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to add to that too, in order to connect with that higher version of yourself, I think you also need to spend some time like really getting clear on who that version of you is. Write it out, map it out, even. And I don't just mean because people are like, okay, well, like she has a lot of money and like she has a boyfriend or whatever, but I mean like really like granular behaviors, like how does she move through the world? How does she dress? How does she like whatever treat random people that she runs into at the grocery store? You know what I mean? Because then you start getting super clear on this person, which makes it easier for you to tap into that.
Yeah, and your higher self is the version of you who has the highest values without past conditioning. I mean, it's not that's what we're talking about here is can you really allow yourself to stretch into these values? The thing that you said about the person who you meet at the grocery store, that's just such an automatic way to see the character of you, not
Hmm.
just the surface level of you. So again, it comes back to, okay, it's not the marketing, it's not what you're putting in the copy, it's not the hook, it's how aligned, how passionate you are, it's how connected you are to your genuine values. Amazing. Okay. Any more cheat codes? So that was like awareness, and maybe do you have any stories or cheat codes for trust? Like, where have you
Yeah.
maybe fallen off trust in your journey, and how have you regained that? And do you have like a toolbox to go into, or do you have all of these spiritual wisdoms just kind of like resting and helping you be grounded in it? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you continuously go back to practices and truths to find your trust back, or is it just this genuine, grounded foundation that you've built of awareness and all of that? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I love that question because I do think that trust is like the hardest part, definitely for me, and I think for so many people. Because like no matter how spiritual you are, like we live in the 3D world, and it's like you're always going to be bombarded with that like 3D world, which can obviously test your trust. I think for me, like I really wish that I had a good cheat code. I think the reason that I have the trust now is because I just have seen it work so many times. And I guess that is its own form of cheat code, is finding evidence of looking at your own life and other people's lives. And I've read this is in every spiritual tradition, these concepts that we're talking about, like manifestation, what detaching, trust. It's in every spiritual tradition. It's in psychology as well. So, first of all, I'm like, if literally the sages in every tradition and in science are saying this is a thing, am I really going to be like, no, it's not a thing? Do you know what I mean? So I think it actually helps me to read all of these different things and actually take an interest in it and be like, wow, like there's a reason this is in literally everything. And then also, I just have seen it work enough times that even again with myself and with other people, like just seeing how the internal always like the external will always catch up to your internal state for better or worse because I've seen it so many times, even when I'm deep in like struggling to trust. I'm like, this is simply how the universe works. Like, you're not an exception to it.
You're so right. Like, how are we going to listen to our past conditionings or this story where, this boyfriend in middle school broke our heart and told us we were worthless, and versus multiple university-backed studies that show that this is possible, multiple spiritual gurus throughout the history of ancient times talking about it, and then we see it, but we're still thinking about that guy from middle school that broke our
Yeah,
heart, like just
exactly.
like delusional or be real, like what is delusional? Because um the what you're talking about is just like this is evidence. This is truly real. So yeah, I think that's an incredible thing to think about and be aware of, that you don't have to rely on just your own self-trust
Yeah.
to know that this works, because there is scientific and spiritual and qualitative evidence right in front of you that it does.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think for people, I don't think you have to like believe in God or universe or whatever in order to like work this. And plenty of people don't, and they still, are able to do it. But I do think that if you have a belief in God or higher power, universe, whatever it is for you, I think that is helpful because you can, like you're saying, like you can take some of that pressure off of yourself and just like give it to that and say, okay, my piece is what I can control, which is my internal state and the actions that flow from that. And the rest is the universe's. Or again, even if you don't believe in higher power, it's still out of your control. So what are you gonna do with it?
Oh my gosh. That's so good. That's so good. Okay, tell us any stories that you want to share around, give us one story that you want to share about rebuilding self-trust, because I noticed that like you I have as I was looking at your Instagram, I'm like, okay, she did get a hate comment here. Or like, do those rock you? Or does that, like, where have you been rocked in your self-trust and brought yourself back? Tell us a personal story that you can share.
I think the hate comments are funny, but by the way, I do get them. Oh my. I mean, I've been rocked in my self-trust so many times. I will use the like law school example just because I think it's the most like obvious and probably was like the most transformative. But basically, I built my whole life like, and this was all like my ego self built this plan for me to go to law school, honestly, because and I was never interested in law. It's so not me, but I was obsessed with, I wanted people to respect me and I wanted status. And I still have triggers around people thinking that I'm like not, not whatever, like impressive enough or they can write me off, like underestimating me basically. So I wanted to be like, I'll show them, like I'll go to law school and like, be fancy. And when I realized that that was destroying my life, that did rock me and it shattered all of my ego illusions and I had to ask myself, am I going to push through just to maintain this facade? And the facade was really important to me. So that was really difficult. And to say like, no, I'm not going to choose the facade. And that is when I chose the self-trust. But at the time, that was incredibly hard because I was embarrassed and I was starting over and I was, afraid that all of these law school people were going to judge me and other people were going to judge me. So that was really difficult, but it was when I did it, it was also so liberating. And that experience, I think, helped me. Like I said, it shattered all of the illusions of the ego, and I felt all of that discomfort, but it made it easier for me to do it in the future, because after that I was like, okay, so this happened and I did start over and I did feel embarrassed. And not only did I survive, but I felt liberated on the other side. Even if people were judging me, I actually stopped, not like stopped caring completely, but I realized that it wasn't, that the liberation was totally worth all of that potential judgment and, embarrassment and all these things.
That is so cool. So you
Yeah.
basically had increased almost your sensitivity to, okay, I'm actually allergic to bullshit, you know? Like
Yeah.
I can't handle that. And once you saw that, it's hard to go back.
Yes,
Incredible.
it's exactly that.
Incredible. Okay, let's finish this podcast off with just if you had to leave one message to the world and to the people that you genuinely make want to make an impact with, what would that be? Give us a short piece of advice that really could change someone's life.
Ugh. Okay, it's like, I feel like it's going to sound basic, but it's really, if you actually believe this, it will 1,000% change your life. If you detach from your external reality and trust that when as within, so without, as above, so below, not my words, but I think that's the advice more articulately stated. If you trust that shifting your internal world will always change your external reality and, quantum leap you to your highest timeline, and you really trust that and act that way and just put all of your attention on your internal world, doesn't mean you can't desire things in the external world, but you really tell yourself the only way, meaningful way for me to change this is by focusing on the internal. And you take that so seriously and take it to heart. Like, that will quantum leap your timeline and speed up your manifestations like nothing else.
Snaps.
I know you get it.
That's so good. That's literally so good. And I 100% agree. And I mean, you see it everywhere. And like it happens on an identity level, it happens on a body level, it happens on an entrepreneur level. It's like once you really understand this awareness, this trust, exactly what you're talking about, that's the real domino effect. That's the real truth of building a life of alignment. So thank you so much, Hannah. I
Thank
genuinely
you so
am so
much.
grateful. And like I said, I really appreciate how eloquent you speak and how clear you speak. And I just want to say that is such a magnetic thing to have. The fact that you are talking about these things that are quantum leaps and manifestations, but you're boiling them down to, okay, well, actually, I just need to find my inner voice. I actually just need to trust myself. I actually just need to find the things that I'm dying to share. And so, thank you for breaking it down so eloquently for us. And I appreciate you so much.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Okay, amazing. See you next time.
Yes, bye.